Hello, everyone. Yesterday, we were reviewing immigration news like we usually do, and we noticed that USCIS issued a new policy memorandum on November the 30th about interviews for an I-751. And this went into effect on December 10, 2018, and we're going to talk about that today. I'm Raluca, and I provide immigration and other legal services to my clients. And I'm here with my marketing and office manager, Nina Clear. And really appreciate you watching us, as well as your likes, shares, and comments. Thank you so much.
First things, will you tell everyone what an I-751 is?
Sure. That is when you apply to remove conditions on your green card.
And I know we talked about this in another video, but can you explain a little bit more about that?
Sure. When someone applies for a green card through marriage, if they are not married for a certain period of time or haven't lived in the US for a certain time, they get a green card that is only good for 2 years. Before that expires, they must apply for a permanent green card.
And even though it says permanent, it's really only good for 10 years, and then they must renew it, right?
That's right. Although their status does not expire, but the document must be renewed every 10 years. I would like to remind people that I highly, highly recommend that after they become a legal permanent resident, they should move toward applying for their citizenship as soon as possible. We have many people who call us because they have been here for decades as legal permanent residents, and something changed. They were arrested or they received a denial when renewing their card, so they must spend more money as if they would have had if they applied for citizenship. So remember, you have no rights as a green card holder that says that you must be allowed to stay in the US if you're not a US citizen.
When you apply for a conditional green card, you usually have an interview with USCIS, right?
Yes. When you apply for a green card, either it's conditional or not, you will have an interview. USCIS wants to make sure that the marriage is not fraudulent, but it is a real marriage. Therefore, they will meet with you and possibly with your spouse.
And I know you said possibly with your spouse, so do they meet with you as a couple?
It often is, most of the time. If your spouse is out of the country, it may be at a consulate, and the U.S. citizen spouse does not need to attend, but it is recommended that they do. If they don't attend and there is a question as to the validity of the marriage, the officer may require your spouse to go to a separate interview in the United States.
Will they keep you together during the interview?
Usually, yes. But they can separate you during the interview and question you individually, or if they feel there is fraud, you may have a second interview called a Stokes interview, where you will be in separate rooms and ask the same questions to see if your answers are the same. We will do a live at a later time that gives you more tips about the questions you can receive at the interview, or what to expect.
And I've read that all USCIS officers go into the interviews presuming that the marriage is based on fraud. Would you agree with that?
Yes, this is what the law requires them to do. They presume that you got married for a green card, and it is up to you to disprove that presumption.
Can you give us one tip today? I know we'll do a live on interviews, but what's your one tip that you want everyone to know?
Okay, one tip would be to bring with you everything your attorney told you to bring. They also send you a list before the interview, so check on that list, make sure you have all those documents. And I have had clients delay the receipt of their green card because they didn't bring the documents I instructed them to bring, or they didn't check that list.
So you have the interview. Tell me now about this new policy.
Well, it is interesting because in August 2017, this administration expanded in-person interview requirements for adjustment of status for employment and refugee or asylum seekers. But now this new policy says that USCIS does not have to have an in-person interview for adjustment of status for married couples. So that means those who have filed for an I-751.
So there are different categories, but it just seems unusual that they're kind of saying you can have fewer interviews in this category.
It
right?
seems like they try to limit the interviews for this category.
Right.
For this category.
And is that true for every person who files an I-751 under this new policy?
No, unfortunately. We will put a link to the memo below, but basically it gives the USCIS officer, the one who reviews the file and conducts the interview, gives them discretion to waive the second interview, meaning the one they schedule when you're trying to remove the conditions.
Okay. And so we have clients that we have filed their I-751 several months ago. Is this going to apply to them?
No, it only applies to applications received after December the 10th, 2018.
And what factors, if this policy tells you, does the USCIS officer consider when waiving the interview?
In the memo, it says that they can make a discretionary decision when the case is not very complex and feel that sufficient information has been submitted to show this is a bona fide marriage.
Do you know what that entails?
Since this policy went into effect 2 days ago, I don't know what they consider sufficient information or not very complex. But as time passes, I will keep in touch with my American Immigration Lawyer Association colleagues, and we'll use that to inform our clients so we submit all the necessary information. Thank you for watching, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll talk about child support and paternity in Georgia. Bye-bye.